Captain Ta Woo Kim stood on the bridge of the research ship Horizon *. He looked out at the strange blue planet below. His ship was in orbit around this new world in the Ta Ceti system, far from Earth. "Captain, we are picking up a signal," said Officer Mina Park. Her eyes were wide as she listened through her headset. "It's coming from the planet's surface." Ta Woo walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" "It repeats in a pattern. It's not random noise," Mina said. She pressed buttons on her console. I think it might be a message." Dr. Jisoo Park, the ship's language expert, rushed to the bridge when she heard the news. She was not related to Mina, though they shared a last name. Jisoo had studied alien communication theories for years, but this was the first real signal they had ever found. "Send it to my station," Jisoo said, her voice calm, but her hands shaking with excitement. "I'll need time to analyze it." For 3 days, Jisoo barely slept. She worked with the ship's computer to find patterns in the strange signal. On the 4th day, she called the captain to her small lab. "I figured out some of it," she said. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she was smiling. "It's definitely a message, Captain. And it's a call for help." Ta Woo looked at the screens showing strange symbols and their possible meanings. "You're sure?" Jisoo nodded. "They call themselves the Eldorans. Their star, their sun, is becoming unstable. They say it will soon release a massive solar flare." She pointed to a section of the message. "This part keeps repeating. It's an SOS. Can we talk back to them?" asked Ta Woo. "I think so. I've been working on a basic response." Jisoo showed him what she had prepared. "It tells them we are humans from Earth, and we have received their message." Chief Science Officer Hyun-Ki Ryu joined them, looking serious. "Captain, our scans confirm what they're saying. Their star is showing signs of instability. If our readings are correct, a major stellar event will happen within 1 Earth year." "How bad?" asked Ta Woo. "Bad enough to destroy most life on their planet," said Hyun-Ki. "Their atmosphere isn't thick enough to protect them from that level of radiation." Ta Woo thought about this for a moment. "Send the message, Dr. Park. Let them know we hear them." 2 days later, they received a response. Jisoo worked quickly to translate it. "They're surprised," she told the captain and the gathered senior staff. "They didn't expect anyone to hear them. They've never made contact with another intelligent species before." "What exactly do they need?" asked Engineer Hejun Choi. Jisoo looked at her notes. "Their technology isn't advanced enough to protect their planet from the coming solar flare. They've been sending this message for over 20 of their years, hoping someone might help." Ta Woo looked at each person around the table. "We need to send this information back to Earth immediately. This is beyond what our mission was designed for." Communications Officer Jun-Ho Lee nodded. "I'll prepare a full report for Earth Command. With our faster-than-light communication, we should have a response within 3 days." Captain Ta Woo stood up and looked again at the blue planet on the main screen. Somewhere down there, an entire civilization was waiting to see if they would live or die. "In the meantime," he said, "keep talking with them. Learn everything you can about their world and their people." He turned to his crew with determination in his eyes. "If Earth decides to help, we'll need to be ready." As the meeting ended, Ta Woo stayed behind, watching the alien world turn slowly below. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. And their first contact with alien life was a cry for help. 3 days after sending their message to Earth, the crew of the Horizon gathered on the bridge. They were waiting for Earth's response about the aliens who needed help. "Incoming transmission from Earth," announced Jun-Ho, the communications officer. His fingers moved quickly over his console. "It's from the United Terrestrial Council." Captain Ta Woo nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The large screen lit up, showing the grand meeting hall of the Council on Earth. 12 people sat at a curved table. In the center was Chairwoman Yuna Han. her face serious. "Captain Kim," she said, "we have received your report about the alien civilization. The Council has been in emergency session for 2 days discussing this matter." Tai Wu straightened his uniform. "What is the Council's decision, Madam Chairwoman?" "The Council is divided," she replied. "We need more information before making our final choice. You are ordered to establish further contact with these Eldorans, learn more about their technology, their society, and exactly what kind of help they need." The screen split to show Commander Sang-Huk Lee, head of Earth's Space Defense Force. He was a tall man with a strong voice. "Captain Kim, my department believes we should help these aliens," he said. "Our solar radiation shields are the most advanced in our part of space. We have the technology to save them." Another person appeared on screen. It was Counselor Do-hyun Yang, frowning deeply. "We must be careful," Do-hyun warned. "We know nothing about these aliens. This could be a trick to get our technology, or worse, to learn about Earth's defenses." Sang-Hyuk shook his head. "With respect, Counselor, not everyone in the galaxy is a threat. Their star is dying. Our scientists have confirmed this. Even if the threat is real," Do-hyun argued, "interfering with another civilization is dangerous. What if they see us as gods? What if helping them now causes bigger problems later?" The debate continued for some time. Captain Ta Wu and his crew watched silently. Finally, Chairwoman Yuna raised her hand for quiet. "Captain Kim, continue contact with the Eldorans. In the meantime, we will prepare a rescue mission. If your further reports confirm they are peaceful and truly in danger, we will send help." The transmission ended, and the bridge was quiet. Then Dr. Jisoo spoke up. "I've been talking with them for 3 days now," she said. "They're frightened, but they're also curious about us. They've shared their art, their music. They're people who want to live, just like us." Engineer Hejun nodded. "Our scans show they have basic space travel, but nothing that can leave their solar system. Their technology level is about where Earth was 50 years ago. Not advanced enough to save themselves," Ta Wu said quietly. For the next week, the crew worked hard to learn more about the Eldorans. They shared messages, pictures, and basic scientific knowledge. The aliens responded eagerly, sending images of their cities, their leaders, and their families. Jisoo created a better translation program. Soon, they could have simple conversations with the Eldorans. The aliens explained that they had sent messages to the stars for many years, hoping someone would answer before their sun destroyed their world. After 2 weeks, Captain Ta Wu sent a comprehensive report back to Earth. 3 days later, the Council's decision arrived. "The United Terrestrial Council has voted," announced Chairwoman Yuna on the screen. "By a margin of 7 to 5, we have decided to help the Eldoran people." The crew cheered. Ta Wu raised his hands for quiet. "The ship Hope of Terra is being prepared," continued Yuna. "It will carry the necessary equipment and specialists to help protect the Eldoran world. It will depart Earth in 1 month." Captain Ta Wu nodded solemnly. "We will inform the Eldorans right away, Madam Chairwoman." "Captain Kim," said Yuna before ending the transmission, "humanity has just made a historic decision. For the first time, we will save another civilization from extinction." 1 month after Earth's decision, the massive ship Hope of Terra arrived at the Horizons location. It was 5 times bigger than the research vessel and carried a special team of experts chosen for the mission. Captain Ta Wu met the new arrivals in the Horizons docking bay. First to step through the doorway was Engineer Hejun Choi, famous for creating the shield technology that might save the Eldoran planet. "Captain Kim," Hejun said with a small bow. "It's an honor to join this mission." "The honor is mine," replied Ta Wu. "Your shields are our best hope." Next came Dr. Sumin Kang, Earth's top alien biology expert. She carried several cases of equipment. "I studied all the data you sent about the Eldorans," she said excitedly. "Their biology is fascinating. I need to make sure our technology won't harm them. More specialists arrived. Pilot Jin Woo Kwan, who would fly the ship close to the dangerous star, Security Chief Jahwa Moon, and Cultural Specialist Yun Jibaek. Each was the best in their field. We have 3 months to prepare, Ta Wu told the assembled team. The journey to Eldura will take 6 months. That gives us 9 months before the solar flare hits their planet. Engineer Hejun took everyone to see the shield generators on the asterisk Hope of Terra asterisk. The machines were huge, filling an entire cargo bay. These will create an energy field around the planet, Hejun explained. The field will block the deadly radiation from the solar flare. But we need to set up 6 stations around Eldura to make it work. Will the Eldurans help us? Asked Jahwa, the security chief. Dr. Jisoo nodded. They're ready to do whatever we ask. They understand this is their only chance. For the next 3 months, the human team trained hard. They studied Elduran language, customs, and biology. They practiced setting up the shield stations in different conditions. They ran simulations of the solar flare again and again. Meanwhile, Engineer Hejun modified the equipment based on what they knew about Eldura. The planet's magnetic field is different from Earth's, he explained to Ta Wu one day. I've had to adjust the shields to work with it instead of against it. Dr. Sumin spent hours in her lab, testing how Elduran biology might react to the shield's energy. Their bodies contain trace amounts of metals we don't have on Earth, she told the team during a meeting. But my tests show the shields won't harm them. Pilot Jin Woo practiced in the flight simulator, flying virtual missions to the unstable star. The approach will be dangerous, he said. Solar flares could hit us at any time. But I've mapped a path that should keep us safe. Finally, the day of departure arrived. Both ships, the asterisk Horizon asterisk and the asterisk Hope of Terra asterisk, would make the journey together. The research vessel would go first, with the larger ship following. Captain Ta Wu stood on the bridge of the asterisk Horizon asterisk, watching the blue planet of Ta City fade from the view screen as they pulled away. Message from the Eldurans, Captain, said Officer Mina. They're thanking us again for coming to help. Ta Wu nodded. Tell them we're on our way. As the ships accelerated to light speed, Ta Wu thought about the responsibility they carried. Not just advanced technology, but the hopes of an entire civilization. Course set for Eldura, announced pilot Jin Woo from his station. 6 months until arrival. The stars stretched into lines of light as the ships jumped to faster than light speed. The mission to save the Eldurans had truly begun. The human race was about to do something it had never done before. Save another intelligent species from extinction. 2 months into their journey to Eldura, life on the ships had fallen into a routine. The crew worked, studied, and prepared for their mission. Captain Ta Wu held daily meetings with his team leaders to check on their progress. The shield generators are in perfect condition, reported Engineer Hejun during one such meeting. I've been running tests every week. Cultural Specialist Yunji added, I've been studying the new messages from the Eldurans. They have a complex society based on harmony with their environment. They value art and knowledge above all else. Their peaceful journey was about to change. On the 83rd day of travel, alarms blared throughout both ships. Captain Ta Wu rushed to the bridge. What's happening? He demanded. Officer Mina's fingers flew over her console. Solar storm ahead, Captain. It's massive. Pilot Jin Woo was already taking action. I'm changing our course to avoid the worst of it. But the storm was too wide to avoid completely. Captain Ta Wu ordered all crew to secure themselves. Brace for impact in 30 seconds, announced Jin Woo. The ships shuddered as the first wave of solar energy hit them. Lights flickered. Equipment rattled. A loud bang echoed through the asterisk Horizon asterisk as something broke loose. Damage report, called Ta Wu when the shaking subsided. Chief Engineer Hejun's voice came over the comm system. Captain, the outer shield generator on Deck 3 is damaged. We're working on repairs now. For the next 3 days, Heo-jun and his team worked non-stop to fix the damaged shield. Without it, they would be vulnerable to more solar storms. The engineer barely slept, stopping only when Dr. Sumin insisted he rest. "You won't help anyone if you collapse," she told him firmly. Finally, Heo-jun succeeded. "The shield is back online, Captain," he reported, "but we should be more careful for the rest of the journey." During the remaining months of travel, the crew continued to exchange messages with the Eldorans. They learned that the aliens lived in large community groups rather than small families. They built their cities into the natural landscape instead of clearing it away. Their leaders were chosen for their wisdom and artistic ability. "They don't understand the concept of war," Yeonji told the crew during a presentation. "They've never fought among themselves. This makes them very different from humans. It also means they might not understand the dangers of the universe," added Security Chief Jawa. "They might be too trusting." Dr. Jisoo had made great progress with the Eldoran language. "Their speech uses tones and colors together," she explained. "They can see more colors than humans. When we meet them, we'll need special equipment to fully communicate." As they approached the final month of their journey, excitement and nervousness grew among the crew. For many, this would be their first face-to-face meeting with an alien species. "What do they look like?" asked a young engineer during a meal. Dr. Sumin showed images on her tablet. "Based on the pictures they've sent, they have translucent skin that shows their inner structures. They're about our height but much thinner. Their bodies contain special cells that can reflect light in patterns. It's part of how they communicate." Captain Tawu called a meeting of all crew members when they were 1 week from arrival. "We're making history," he told them. "No human has ever visited the Eldoran homeworld. No human has ever attempted to save another species from extinction. Our success or failure will be remembered forever." He looked at each person in the room. "Remember your training. Respect their ways. We are guests on their world, even as we try to save it." The next day, the blue-green planet of Eldora appeared on their view screens, growing larger as they approached. The moment of first contact was almost here. The ships *Horizon* and *Hope of Terra* entered orbit around the planet Eldora. Through the viewports, the crew could see a world of blue oceans and land covered with purple and red plants. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Jisoo as she looked at the alien world. Captain Tawu gathered his team for their final briefing. "We land in 2 hours. Dr. Jisoo, Specialist Yeonji, you'll meet with the Eldorans first. Engineers will follow once we establish good communication." Everyone prepared for landing. They put on special suits designed to protect them from any unknown dangers on Eldora. The landing ships were loaded with equipment and supplies. "Landing party ready, Captain," reported Security Chief Jawa. 3 landing ships descended to the planet's surface. They touched down on a flat plain near a large Eldoran city. The structures of the city sparkled in the sunlight, built from materials that looked like crystal and colored stone. Dr. Jisoo was the first human to step onto Eldoran soil. She carried a translation device in her hand. Behind her came Yeonji, Captain Tawu, and the others. They didn't wait long. A group of tall, thin figures approached from the city. The Eldorans moved gracefully, their translucent skin catching the light and reflecting it in beautiful patterns. They were about 7 feet tall, with 4 long arms and large dark eyes. "Welcome, humans from Earth," said the lead Eldoran. The translation device in Jisoo's hand converted the sounds and light patterns into human speech. "We thank you for your welcome," replied Jisoo carefully. "We are honored to meet you face to face." The lead Eldoran moved closer. "I am called Lightkeeper. I speak for our people in this region." Despite all their preparation, the humans were not ready for how different the Eldorans truly were. When Lightkeeper invited them to the city, they saw thousands of Eldorans moving through streets made of polished stone. Buildings rose in spirals and curves, with no straight lines anywhere. Their architecture follows natural growth patterns, explained Yunji to the team. Like shells or crystals. At a large meeting hall, more Eldoran leaders waited. They sat in a circle on cushions on the floor. The humans sat awkwardly, trying to fold their legs like their hosts. "We have prepared for your arrival," said Lightkeeper. "But we have questions before we proceed with your plan." For the next 2 hours, the Eldorans asked many questions. Why would humans help them? What did Earth want in return? How could they know the shields would work? Captain Ta-Wu answered honestly. Earth wants nothing in return. We help because we can, and because all intelligent life is precious. The Eldorans talked among themselves, their skin flashing with patterns of light that the translation device could not fully capture. Finally, Lightkeeper spoke again. "We accept your help with gratitude, but we must warn you of difficulties." The first problem was that Eldoran days were shorter than Earth days. The humans would need to adjust their work schedules. The second problem was more serious. "Our atmosphere contains elements that may damage your equipment," Lightkeeper explained. "Your metals will corrode quickly here." Engineer Hejun looked worried. "The shield generators weren't designed for this. We'll need to modify them." Despite these challenges, work began immediately. The Eldorans provided a large area where the humans could set up their base. Eldoran scientists came to help, eager to learn about human technology. That night, Captain Ta-Wu stood outside the human base, looking at the strange stars above Eldora. He wondered if they had made a mistake coming here. The differences between humans and Eldorans were greater than anyone had expected. But when he saw the Eldoran children watching the humans with curiosity and hope, he knew they had made the right choice. Whatever problems they faced, they would solve them together. 3 days after landing on Eldora, Engineer Hejun called an emergency meeting. His face was serious as the team gathered in the main room of the human base. "We have a problem," Hejun said, placing a piece of metal on the table. What had once been a shiny part was now covered in green spots. The Eldorans were right. Something in their air is eating through our equipment. Dr. Sumin picked up the corroded metal. "The shield generators will fail if this happens to them." Captain Ta-Wu looked at the worried faces around him. "How long do we have?" "At this rate, the shield generators will last 3 weeks at most," said Hejun. "But we need them to work for at least 6 weeks to protect the planet during the solar event." "Can we fix this?" asked Ta-Wu. Hejun nodded slowly. "I think so, but we'll need help from the Eldorans. They must have materials that don't corrode in their atmosphere." Later that day, Hejun and Sumin met with Eldoran scientists. Using the translation device, they explained the problem. The Eldorans immediately offered their help. "We have special coatings for our ships that might protect your machines," said an Eldoran scientist named Brightthought. "We can show you how to make them." For the next week, humans and Eldorans worked side by side. The Eldorans taught the humans about their special coating made from local plants and minerals. The humans taught the Eldorans about Earth's shield technology. "It's amazing," Hejun told Captain Ta-Wu one evening. "Their coating works perfectly, and they're learning our engineering principles so quickly." "We've learned something interesting too," added Sumin. "The Eldorans use crystals for their computing. It's completely different from our systems, but very advanced in its own way." Just as they were making progress, Chief Science Officer Hyun-Ki brought more bad news. "Our new measurements show the solar event will happen sooner than we thought," he announced, showing them the data. "We now have only 3 weeks, not 6. The team worked faster. The 6 shield generators needed to be placed around the planet in a perfect pattern. 2 were set up near the main city. The others had to be transported to different parts of Eldora. Under Hejun's direction, each generator was coated with the Eldoran protection. Then they were carefully tested. Eldoran workers helped carry equipment and learn how to operate the shields. "We need to teach them everything," Hejun told his team. "They must know how to maintain the shields after we leave." One evening, as humans and Eldorans worked late, Lightkeeper approached Captain Tau. "Your people work without rest," the Eldoran leader said. "You risk much for those you never knew before." Tau smiled tiredly. "That's what humans do. We help when we can." Lightkeeper's skin flashed with colors of respect. "We are learning much from you. Not just about your machines, but about how different peoples can work together." The two leaders stood in silence, watching their teams work together. After a moment, Lightkeeper spoke again. "There is something you should know," the Eldoran said. "Not all my people welcome your help." Tau turned to face Lightkeeper. "What do you mean?" "There is a group led by Deep Thought who believe the solar event is a test from our ancestors. They think we should face it without outside help." The human captain frowned. "Are they dangerous?" Lightkeeper's skin darkened with concern. "They have been peaceful so far, but as your work progresses, they grow more upset. I fear what they might do." Tau nodded grimly. "Thank you for telling me. We'll be careful." That night, Tau informed Security Chief HFY about this new threat. They needed to protect the shield generators at all costs. Time was running out, and now they faced opposition from within Eldoran society itself. 1 week before the solar event, the humans had installed 5 of the 6 shield generators. The last generator was being set up in a remote area of Eldora. Captain Tau felt hopeful for the first time since they had arrived. Then the alarm sounded. "Captain," called Security Chief HFY over the comm system. "Shield Generator 2 is down. Someone has damaged it." At the same time, Engineer Hejun's voice came through. "Captain, Generator 4 is not responding. We've lost contact with the team there." Taiwu's hope turned to fear. "This is not an accident," he said to Dr. Jisoo, who stood beside him. "This is sabotage." Lightkeeper arrived at the human base minutes later, skin flashing with patterns of distress. "Deep Thought and his followers have taken action against your shield generators," the Eldoran leader said. "They believe the Great Flare is a test from our ancestors. Those who survive are meant to build a new world." "But most won't survive," said Tau. "They're risking everyone's lives." Lightkeeper's colors dimmed. "They believe death is just a change of form. They do not fear it as you do." Tau called his team leaders together. "We have 6 days to fix 2 generators and finish setting up the last one. We need to split up." Security Chief HFY and Pilot Jinwoo would go to Generator 2 to repair it and defend it from further attacks. Engineer Hejun would take a team to finish the last generator. Captain Tau and Dr. Jisoo would go with Lightkeeper to try to talk with Deep Thought. Jinwoo flew HFY to Generator 2 in a small ship. When they landed, they saw 3 Eldorans trying to break into the control panel. "Stop," called HFY, holding up her translator. "What you're doing will harm your own people." The Eldorans turned, their skin flashing with angry red patterns. "The Great Flare will cleanse our world," one said. "Your shields block our destiny." Jinwoo stepped forward. "Your destiny is to live, not die. Please, let us repair this generator." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then the Eldorans backed away. "We will not fight you," their leader said, "but others will try to stop your work." Meanwhile, Captain Tau and Dr. Jisoo traveled with Lightkeeper to meet Deep Thought. They found him in a beautiful crystal building with many followers. Deep Thought was older than most Eldorans, his translucent skin showing the complex patterns of age. "I respect your wish to help," he said to the humans, "but the Great Flare is our sacred trial." "It's not a trial," said Tau firmly. "It's a natural event that will destroy your civilization." Jisoo stepped forward. "Your ancestors didn't know about the flare. They couldn't have meant for it to be a test." Deep Thought's skin rippled with doubt. For hours, they talked about Eldoran beliefs and human science. Lightkeeper explained how few Eldorans would survive without the shields. Finally, Deep Thought's colors changed to a thoughtful blue. Perhaps we have misunderstood the writings of our ancestors, he said slowly. They spoke of a great light that would change our world. Maybe they meant we would meet beings from beyond our world, not that we would die in fire. Lightkeeper moved closer to Deep Thought. Help us protect our people. There will be time for spiritual tests after we survive. After more discussion, Deep Thought agreed. He sent messages to his followers to stop the sabotage. By nightfall, reports came in that Eldurans were now helping to repair the damaged generators. Captain Ta Wu contacted his team. How are the repairs going? Generator 2 is fixed, reported Jawa. We're adding extra security. The last generator is almost ready, added Hejun. We'll finish tomorrow. Ta Wu allowed himself a small smile. They had overcome the crisis, but the real test was yet to come. In 5 days, the solar flare would reach Eldura. They would soon find out if their shields would work. The day of the solar flare arrived. The sky over Eldura turned a strange orange color as the star began to change. Captain Ta Wu stood in the control center with his team and several Elduran leaders, including Lightkeeper and Deep Thought. All shield generators are online, reported Engineer Hejun, checking his screens. Energy levels are stable. The star is entering final phase, said Chief Science Officer Kun Ki. Massive energy spike detected. Flare will reach Eldura in approximately 1 hour. Ta Wu looked at the worried faces around him. Activate the shields. Hejun pressed a series of controls. Outside, a faint blue glow appeared in the sky as the 6 shield generators created an energy field around the planet. Shield at full power, said Hejun. Now we wait. The control room was quiet except for the beeping of machines. Humans and Eldurans stood side by side, watching the monitors. In cities across Eldura, millions of aliens looked up at the blue shimmer in their sky, the only thing that would protect them from destruction. Energy levels rising in the star, announced Hyun-Ki after 45 minutes. Flare is accelerating. Suddenly, alarms blared. Hejun rushed to his console. Power fluctuation in Generator 3. The shield is weakening in that sector. Can you fix it? Asked Ta Wu. Hejun's fingers flew over his controls. I'm trying to reroute power from the other generators, but it's not enough. We need more energy. Lightkeeper's skin flashed with concern. Our power systems cannot help. They're not compatible, said Hejun. We need. He stopped, looking up at Ta Wu. We could use the power core from our ship. Ta Wu understood immediately. The asterisk hope of Terra Asterisk. Hejun nodded. If we connect its power core to the shield system, it would provide enough energy. But we couldn't use it to return to Earth, finished Ta Wu. The room fell silent. Using their ship's power would mean staying on Eldura for a long time, perhaps years, until Earth could send another ship. How long do we have to decide? Asked Ta Wu. Minutes, said Hejun grimly. The shield is failing faster than I expected. Captain Ta Wu looked at his crew, then at the Eldurans. He thought of the millions of lives depending on them. Do it, he ordered. Connect our ship to the shield. Hejun rushed to make the preparations. Crew members ran to the ship to help. Within minutes, they had connected the ship's power core to the shield system. Energy flow established, reported Hejun through the comm. Shield is stabilizing. Just in time. The sky outside turned blindingly bright as the solar flare reached Eldura. The shield glowed brighter, straining against the massive wave of energy. Shield holding at 95% capacity, said Hejun. It's working. For 3 hours, the flare battered the shield. Inside the protected area, the temperature rose but remained survivable. Outside the shield, sensors showed that the radiation would have killed all life within minutes. Finally, the light began to fade. The worst of the flare had passed. Shield integrity at 40%, reported Hejun. But we made it through the worst part. A cheer went up from humans and Eldurans alike. Lightkeeper's skin glowed with bright, joyful colors. Even Deep Thought showed patterns of relief and gratitude. As the danger passed, Captain Ta Wu stepped outside to look at the sky. The blue shield was still visible, now thin and flickering. "Captain," said Dr. Jisoo, joining him, "you made the right choice." Ta Wu nodded. "We came to save their world. That's what we did. But now we're stranded here," said Jisoo. "It could be years before Earth can send another ship. Then we'll have years to learn from each other," replied Ta Wu. "I think both our peoples have much to teach." As the shield finally faded away, a new day dawned on Eldora, a day that would not have come without human help. 5 years had passed since the great solar flare. The human team that had come to save Eldora had become honored guests on the alien world. In a special ceremony, Lightkeeper had named them all Lifebringers, the highest honor in Eldoran culture. Captain Ta Wu stood on a balcony overlooking the main Eldoran city. The city had grown larger since they first arrived. New crystal towers sparkled in the sunlight. Below, humans and Eldorans walked together through the streets. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" asked Dr. Jisoo, joining him on the balcony. Ta Wu nodded. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years already." 2 years after the solar flare, Earth had sent a new ship to Eldora, but by then, many of the humans had decided to stay. They had found a new home among the Eldorans, who were eager to learn from them and share their own knowledge. Engineer Hejun had worked with Eldoran scientists to create new technologies that combined human and Eldoran ideas. They had built faster ships, better communication systems, and stronger shields. "The new ship is almost ready for testing," said Jisoo. "Hejun says it's the fastest ever built." Below them, they could see the large construction area where the ship was being completed. It was different from Earth ships, sleeker, with crystal components that glowed with soft blue light. "Earth will be surprised when they see Eldoran technology," said Ta Wu. The biggest surprise had come 3 years after the flare, when Dr. Sumin discovered that Eldoran crystal computing could solve problems that human computers could not. The combination of human and Eldoran science had led to breakthroughs that neither civilization could have achieved alone. "Is Deep Thought coming to the launch ceremony?" asked Jisoo. Ta Wu smiled. "Yes, he says the ancestors must have wanted our people to meet all along." Deep Thought had become one of their strongest supporters. He now taught that the solar flare had been a sign pointing to cooperation between different worlds, not a test of survival. Later that day, Ta Wu attended a meeting with the Eldoran Council. Lightkeeper, now the head of the council, welcomed him warmly. "Is everything prepared for the journey to Earth?" asked Lightkeeper. "Yes," said Ta Wu. "The ship will carry 20 Eldoran ambassadors. It will take only 3 months to reach Earth with the new drive system. This would be the first time Eldorans had left their home world. They would be the first aliens to visit Earth. The United Terrestrial Council had been preparing for their arrival for months." After the meeting, Ta Wu visited the Learning Center where Yunji taught Eldoran children about Earth and human children about Eldora. There were now 30 human children on the planet, born to couples who had decided to make Eldora their permanent home. Ambassador Kim called the children when they saw him. Since Earth had officially recognized Eldora 2 years ago, Ta Wu had become the human ambassador to the planet. That evening, Ta Wu joined his friends for a meal. Hejun, Sumin, Jisoo, Jinwoo, and Jaehua were all there. They had been through so much together. "Do you ever regret our decision?" asked Jinwoo. "Giving up our ship to save the Eldorans." Ta Wu looked around at his friends, then out the window at the peaceful Eldoran city. "Not for a moment," he said. "We came to save them, but in the end, we gained as much as we gave." The next day, as the new ship prepared for its maiden voyage to Earth, Ta Wu thought about how one decision had changed 2 civilizations forever. Humans had stepped in to save aliens from extinction, but in doing so, they had discovered new friends, new knowledge, and a new future that would be better for both worlds. The stars awaited them, and now two species would explore them together.